The Young and the Restless is gearing up for another romantic shakeup, and this time, it might be Summer Newman who finds herself at a crossroads. With Kyle Abbott seemingly focused on his new romance with Claire Newman, Summer's desperate attempts to reclaim his heart may be all for nothing. Could a fresh start be on the horizon for Summer, perhaps with a brand new love interest? One intriguing possibility is that Billy Flynn, who is making his way from Days of Our Lives to Y&R in an all-new role, might be the man to help Summer move forward. Although details on Flynn's character remain under wraps, it's never too early to speculate about potential pairings in Genoa City. Given Summer's current state of emotional turmoil, a new romance could be just what she needs to regain control of her life. At the moment, Summer is pulling out all the stops to win back Kyle. However, her scheming may backfire, leaving her heartbroken instead of triumphant. With Kyle seemingly smitten with Claire, Summer could find herself on the outside looking in. If she ultimately realizes that her dream of reuniting with Kyle is slipping away, she may finally be open to the idea of moving on. This is where Billy Flynn's character could come into play. If he arrives in town as a charming and mysterious newcomer, he might be exactly the kind of distraction Summer needs. A new romance could add another layer of drama to the already tangled web of relationships in Genoa City, especially if Kyle starts to take notice of Summer moving on. Could this be the beginning of a brand new chapter in Summer's love life? Hey everyone, welcome back to Radiant Serum. I'm Aubrey, and I hope your day is shining bright. Thank you for joining me. Let's jump right into today's video. Wednesday's episode of The Young and the Restless delivered high-stakes drama. The Young and the Restless recap reminds us of shocking revelations and a chilling twist that left fans on the edge of their seats. Phyllis Summers and Sharon Newman found themselves fighting for survival, while Martin Laurent continued his sinister scheming. Meanwhile, an unexpected proposal sent shockwaves through Genoa City. Phyllis saves Sharon. A forced alliance forms. Phyllis was thrown into panic mode when Sharon lost consciousness in captivity. With no pulse detected, Phyllis hesitated but ultimately sprang into action, administering CPR in a desperate attempt to revive her. Moments later, Sharon gasped for air, realizing that Phyllis had saved her life. The rivals quickly recognized that their survival depended on working together. With their captor seemingly absent, they shook on a fragile truce, determined to decipher their final clue and escape. Back at Crimson Lights, Summer Newman joined Nick Newman and Chance Chancellor as they pieced together the latest developments in the case. A crucial lead surfaced when the white van connected to Sharon and Phyllis was traced to an abandoned warehouse district. Meanwhile, Billy Abbott uncovered another piece of the puzzle after dialing the burner phone number linked to Phyllis. A cryptic message directed him to the Havenhurst Psychiatric Clinic, coincidentally located in the same abandoned district under investigation. Realizing this could be the breakthrough they needed, Nick, Chance, and Summer prepared to take immediate action. At the GCAC, Tracy Abbott enjoyed a meal with Jack Abbott, Diane Jenkins Abbott, and Alan Laurent, or so she thought. In reality, Alan's evil twin, Martin, was the one sitting across from her, playing his role convincingly. Martin smoothly reminisced about Tracy's New York trip and even hinted at giving up his public speaking engagements to travel with her more. In a jaw-dropping moment, Martin proposed marriage, catching Tracy completely off guard. Overwhelmed with emotions, Tracy accepted, unaware of the deception unfolding before her. As she shared the good news with Jack and Diane, Martin retreated to a secluded bench, admiring the ring he had just purchased. However, his sinister nature was soon revealed when he pulled up the live video feed from the Havenhurst Clinic, confirming his role as Sharon and Phyllis' captor. With Phyllis and Sharon still in danger, and Martin pulling the strings from the shadows, The Young and the Restless continues to deliver gripping suspense. Will Nick, Chance and Billy reach them in time. In Havenhurst, Phyllis and Sharon debate how to search for the camera without drawing attention. Sharon thinks they should just do it right out in the open. Who cares if they can see them dismantling the camera? Let him come and confront them. Phyllis likes this idea. They'll dare them to come in there. Sharon says it would give them a chance to get out of there. Phyllis tells her they should go one step further. Let's trash the place. That's sure to get him down there. Sharon nods at the suggestion. They've got some aggression to get out of their system. She walks over and clears a table, and then asks Phyllis, "What are you waiting for?" In Nick's car, he tells Billy he should give Summer a call. Billy flashes to him and Nick coming together to figure out Sharon and Phyllis' disappearance. Nick concludes his call to Summer as Billy's reverie wraps up. He thinks Summer sounds scared. They recap that life has been a nightmare for months. First, Ian and Jordan, and now some other lunatic. Nick just hopes they get there in time. They agree that they won't let Chance chase them off. Nick just can't understand someone kidnapping Sharon and Phyllis and not demanding ransom. Talk turns to the message on the phone. Someone will pay the price for saving them. Will it be Phyllis and Sharon or them? He's leading them right to them, so what does it mean? Nick doesn't know, but something tells him they'll get an answer very soon. At Havenhurst, Chance is irked to see the arrival of Billy and Nick, who vows to get the Newman security team to come out and back them up. Billy wants to know why they're not busting the door down. Chance says they're waiting for the landlord to come and let them in. They're also waiting for a search warrant. Nick and Billy are unimpressed. They don't know what's going on in there. These women have been through hell for the last 6 months. Chance is ordering them not to go in. This could be a trap. This is a police matter, and they'll follow police procedures. Chance gets a text that the search warrant is approved. He insists, however, that they wait for the landlord to open the door. Billy and Nick pace impatiently. Inside, Phyllis and Sharon take great delight in destroying the room, ripping up pillows and smashing lamps. Sharon hollers about Ian Ward, and Phyllis yells about Jordan, the devil's bride. Sharon screams about her drugging her and sticking her in the sewer. Phyllis shouts about her running her off the road. Sharon cries, "This one is for poisoning my medication, making me out of my mind. I didn't know what I was doing. This is for Heather's death, and for me blaming Daniel and putting you and your family through so much pain." She topples the bookcase. Sharon tells Phyllis she's really sorry for what happened. Phyllis says they don't need to go there anymore. That part, it's good that she was stuck there with her. Sharon says they've both had a lot of time there to think about what their hatred has cost them. Phyllis agrees. It took all of their history being thrown in their face to realize. She muses, "I've heard of tough love, but this is kind of ridiculous." They decide to keep going. Sharon wonders if they are watching them or listening. Phyllis hollers that this isn't a game anymore, and they're not going down without a fight. Sharon chimes in. They have to do this for their families. They assure the sicko they're not done. They have their families to live for. They list off their children and then get to Nick. Awkward laughter ensues. Phyllis says, "Cassidy first." Sharon nods, "And your new job." They ask the voice what he's going to do now. It's his turn to wonder what's going on. "There's no stopping us. You tried," Phyllis yells. Outside, Nick tries to clean the glass door to see in. He and Billy crab about how long the landlord is taking. Chance knows they're anxious, but he doesn't want the culprit to skate by on a legal technicality. Billy hollers about letting the women die inside while they debate. Just then, the landlord shows up with a ring of keys and asks what they want him to do. Billy barks, "Open the damn door." Chance says wait a minute and questions the man if anyone has contacted him recently about this place. The landlord shakes his head. The building's been unused for years. They try the key and learn the locks were changed. Nick informs the guy they're going to break down the door. "You got a problem with that." Inside, Phyllis and Sharon giggle over their trashed room. Junkyard chick, Sharon jokes. Phyllis tells her she's actually funny. It took them being in the hellhole to realize it. Sharon asks, what happens now? Phyllis holds up the camera. The voice can't see us, so I assume the voice will be upset. She expects a visit soon. Sharon thinks this will give them the upper hand, but she warns they'll probably show up with some sort of weapon. Phyllis decides they should find something to protect themselves with. Phyllis grabs a plastic object and Sharon finds a thermos. They turn out the light and hover by the door to wait. Outside, Chance tells Billy and Nick the door is made of shatterproof glass. He jimmies the lock and stops Nick from going in. The cops need to go first. They do, with Billy and Nick following them into the dark. In their room, Phyllis and Sharon hear a door closing far away. One of the burner phones gets a notification. It's another riddle. Not very sportsmanlike, ladies. You lose. Sharon thinks that's more like a death threat. Phyllis is sure he's coming for them. They take up their station at the door again. Phyllis reminds Sharon they are badasses after everything they've done in their lives to protect their families. Sharon nods. We're survivors. Phyllis says, take my hand. We've got this. Suddenly, they hear a hissing noise, and the song starts playing again over the speaker. Sharon asks, what is that? Phyllis replies, oh my God, it's gas. Sharon asks, where is it coming from? They start searching and Phyllis finds the source, but she can't turn it off. Choking, she takes a towel Sharon hands her to try and plug it. Outside, Chance and the others approach outside the door. They hear the music. Nick says he knows they're in there and calls out Sharon's name. In the room, Phyllis isn't able to stop the gas. She hollers to the voice that he won't win. As Sharon hands her another sheet, Chance calls out to them outside the door. Sharon tells Phyllis, I heard someone. Phyllis warns they don't have a lot of time. Sharon tells her to get away from the gas pipe. She'll pass out if she doesn't move. Outside the door, Billy points out that none of the other rooms were locked. They start trying the door. Inside the room, Sharon notices the door handle moving and grabs her thermos as Phyllis passes out. Sharon raises the thermos over her head and waits. Phyllis starts coughing and Sharon tells her to keep her mouth and nose covered. Suddenly, she hears Nick shouting to her. Sharon answers him. Billy asks if Phyllis is with her. She says she is, but she isn't doing well. They need to hurry. They holler at the women to back up so they can shoot off the lock. Sharon hollers that they can't or it will cause an explosion. Nick says, "Oak, then back up." With that, he kicks the door in. The men rush inside and Nick grabs Sharon. Billy rushes to Phyllis and holds her. "I've been looking for you." He urges her to stay with him. "I've got you." They agree they need to get them out of there. Later, at the ranch, Chance tells Billy and Nick that Sharon and Phyllis, sitting on the sofa, should go to the hospital to get checked out. Nick agrees, but the EMTs checked them out and said they could go home. Billy says they just want to be somewhere familiar. Nick asks if he's got anything new. Chance shakes his head. His guess is that this guy didn't leave much of a trail. This was carefully plotted out. The gas was programmed to go off if triggered. It's diabolical. A lot of thought and preparation went into this. It's not a random kidnapping. They can't understand who would do this or why. Joining the women, Nick asks how they ended up in the clinic. Phyllis and Sharon explain they were drugged and taken there separately. They woke up together and thought it was someone's idea of a joke. Phyllis guesses they thought she took Sharon out. She gave them ample reason to think that. She's sure the lunatic was hoping people would think that way. They don't know who the lunatic is, but he spoke to them in a distorted voice. They ask if Jordan or Ian is somehow still alive. Chance confirms they're not. They realize this is someone else. Phyllis says Jordan and Ian are garden-variety psychopaths. Whoever this is, they are sick. It was like they liked to watch them suffer. They liked the game for their own entertainment. A game of cat and mouse, which ends when the mouse dies. Chance thinks they're all wondering who this person is. They have no idea. Phyllis says they always spoke in a distorted voice, playing games with them. Billy asks about the games. Sharon and Phyllis tell them about the riddles. The person knew a lot about them. Phyllis says at first, she thought it was him trying to broker peace between them. Nick promises he didn't drug or kidnap them. Phyllis says it was only for a second, she thought that. Billy asks what happened after they solved the riddles. Phyllis says they were promised their freedom. Sharon says it was lies, which escalated into them having to save each other's lives. Phyllis explains they were poisoned. They were being watched like rats in a lab, somebody's project. Billy and Nick reveal that the person led them right to them, also with riddles. Sharon thinks maybe their endgame was having them almost rescued, but dying from the gas first. Phyllis declares it's sick. Chance says it's over. Phyllis and Sharon question that. Whoever it is, they're still out there. They have to find them before they strike again. Obviously, there's been a massive shift in Sharon and Phyllis' relationship moving forward, and having them locked up together was an interesting way to get past the animosity over Heather's death, where they would have been otherwise stuck for all eternity. It's still a bit of a stretch that Tracy's man would have gone to these lengths to toy with two women he barely knew. But here's an explainer as to Alan/Martin's motivations. If you were paying attention, you may have realized that the real reason Sharon and Phyllis were kidnapped had nothing to do with a psychopath, but with driving news story moving forward, specifically in their love lives. The preview teases Sharon fishing to find out if there might be a future with Nick. And while we wouldn't expect shik to happen overnight, the woman deserves some kind of happiness after all she's been through. The scenes surrounding the Chatta reunion have been painful to watch. A significant portion of the audience isn't feeling it, and the writers clearly know this, which is why they're working overtime to try and convince us that they're a couple we should adore. One Genoa City resident after another has been trotted out and forced to behave out of character to support this reunion, including Victoria, and now Chloe of all people. If the pairing was working, none of this would be necessary, and quite frankly, it might be more interesting if there was some pushback. Viewers see through these attempts at manipulation, and rather than have the desired effect, it instead creates more resistance. But the biggest issue with Chelsea and Adam's reconciliation? It has isolated and watered down two characters who were among the most intriguing and complex, and made them into whitewashed, reformed bores. This isn't a Hallmark movie, it's soap opera. Where's the melodrama, the sexual tension, the conflict? How agonizing is it knowing that our beloved Tracy, who is besotted and happy beyond words at long last, is about to be utterly devastated? Worse than having her heart shattered, however, is the fact that she's clearly in serious danger. As Phyllis pointed out, Alan/Martin isn't your garden variety psycho. He's a true sicko. He's incredibly diabolical and clever to boot, so there's no telling how long he'll be able to keep up his ruse, or how deeply entrenched he'll become in the Abbott world before he's finally exposed. We know he's pushing Tracy to wed quickly, which has to be part of some bigger plot. We also know Eileen Davidson is returning, perhaps as one of Ashley's alters, which means this could get hella messy before all is said and done. Here's hoping. Michelle Morgan made a brief return to The Young and the Restless. Unfortunately for soap fans, she has moved on from the show. Now, Morgan is switching gears and moving to Hallmark. Say hello to Hallmark's new leading lady. Morgan will bring her acting chops to the network. In 2023, she starred in her first film, Christmas with a Kiss. This year, Morgan will star in 4 romantic comedies for the network. According to a report via Daytime Confidential, the first movie of spring 2025 is Hearts Around the Table, Sherry's second act. Morgan plays a woman named Sherry who's getting over her breakup. She returns to Washington, D.C., where she wants to get in touch with her artistic roots. Sherry gets inspired when she meets art gallery owner Evan. The movie premieres on Saturday, March 29 at 8 p.m. ET on Hallmark. It will also be available to stream shortly after on Hallmark Plus and Peacock. There are 4 movies in the Hearts Around the Table series that are all premiering on Hallmark this spring, according to Hallmark Media. Morgan will star in all 4. She is the lead in Sherry's second act, but will have a supporting role in the other 3. The other 3 movies are Hearts Around the Table, Jenna's First Love, Hearts Around the Table, Josh's Third Serving, and Hearts Around the Table, Kiki's Fourth Ingredient. They will all premiere throughout the months of March and April. This is great news for I and our fans who miss Morgan on the show. In the meantime, Morgan made a major change to her hair. What are your thoughts on Morgan's new role? Are you excited to see her on the Hearts Around the Table series? Do you miss her on My and R? Let us know in the comment section. The Young and the Restless spoilers for Monday, March 17, feature Nick going all out for Sharon, Billy keeping an eye on Phyllis, and Tracy questioning her new fiancé. Alan did a very, very bad thing, and he's not doing a great job at keeping it a secret. That notification that flashed on his phone screen at the Friday show has Tracy on edge. What exactly does a security breach at clinic? Precautions enacted mean? Tracy wants to know, and she wants to know right now. We have no doubt Alan will think fast and find a way to cover his tracks. At least for now. We can't imagine it will stay that way for long, though. All it will take is Tracy hearing about Phyllis and Sharon's plight, and surely she'll put the pieces together. Tracy is a smart woman, and she's lived through enough to know to trust her gut. A new secret? Meanwhile, Billy sticks close to Phyllis and even makes a new discovery about her. Will this be something that puts him on edge or makes her even more endearing? Billy may be all lovey-dovey with Sally, but he's known for having a wandering eye. Could that eye wander Phyllis's way again? Fixing what's broken. At the same time, Nick works to put supports in place for Sharon. The poor woman has suffered so many horrific twists, and it's going to be a rough recovery. She had barely gotten herself back on her feet after that attack by Cameron, only to be a pawn in Jordan and Ian Ward's games. Then to be kidnapped again? Sharon is going to need a whole lot of love, a good amount of therapy, and a strong shoulder to lean on if she's going to get back to herself. She's a strong woman, but this series of unfortunate events could break the best of them, and Nick isn't taking any chances. The Young and the Restless spoilers for March 17 to 21 focus on several mysteries, including one centering on a scary crime, a dodgy businessman, and an intriguing invitation. Tracy just had to pick up Alan's phone, didn't she? Everything was going so well. Alan had just proposed to Tracy, and she accepted. He immediately went to get a ring for her, and that ring was gorgeous. It was a magical moment that couldn't have happened to a better person. The better person we're talking about is Tracy. Freaking Abbott. She is everything, and now she's forced to deal with a crazy scenario. Exactly what does Tracy find out about Alan? Does she realize he was the one behind Sharon and Phyllis's kidnapping? More importantly, what is he going to tell her? We'll find out when Tracy interrogates Alan. She's an author. She knows what questions to ask. Later in the week, Jack and Diane counsel Tracy. What will they tell her that will enable her to navigate this blindside situation? Meanwhile, Lily does some interrogating of her own. When Lily questions Damien's motives, what does she hope to find out? Hopefully, Damien will be more forthcoming with the truth about his personal and professional lives. Lily and Devin are going to be hesitant to let this man into their lives until they know more specifics. Lily certainly won't let anything happen with Damien unless she gets the unfiltered truth from him. And even then, she's going to have to trust his truth. She's been fooled before. Victor and Nikki even did it recently. Will Damien give up intel on Aristotle Dumas? He might want to consider going there if he wants any sort of relationship with Lily ever. Now that Nick, Billy, and Chance have rescued Sharon and Phyllis, It would be nice if everyone could rest and enjoy a drama-free existence. That's easier said than done, considering they still don't know who kidnapped them. Regardless, Nick does what he likes to do and attempts to solve Sharon's problems. When Nick forms a plan for Sharon, what will it involve? Meanwhile, Nick receives an unexpected invitation. Should we assume it's from his ex-wife? Well, one of his ex-wives. Meanwhile, Holden presses his luck with Audra. Audra, for her part, has kept Nate in the know about Holden wanting to be her friend in Genoa City. He says friend, but he clearly means more. When he does push his luck, how does Audra respond? Finally, sparks fly between Adam and Chelsea. This could be code for Adam and Chelsea taking things from kissing to the next level. This will further cement their reunion and solidify their family unit. The Young and the Restless recap for Friday, March 14, sees Sharon and Phyllis fighting back. A rescue mission goes the exact right way, and Tracy spies a questionable notification on Alan's phone. Sharon and Phyllis found themselves in rare agreement as they took matters into their own hands, literally. Locked in the clinic basement and desperate to take control of their situation, they zeroed in on the surveillance camera. While Sharon initially suggested they should simply dismantle it in plain sight, Phyllis upped the ante by proposing a full-scale demolition. Who knew being kidnapped could turn into a cathartic rage session? The two women went wild. Sharon shattered a light while cursing Ian Ward, and Phyllis tore open a pillow while venting her anger at Jordan. They took out their pent-up aggression on everything in sight, flipping bookcases, trashing furniture, and making it clear to their captors that they weren't going down quietly. The destruction wasn't just about blowing off steam, it was a statement. They yelled at the intercom, taunting their invisible captors, promising that they weren't going to be broken. In a moment of reflection amidst the wreckage, Sharon apologized to Phyllis for past wrongs, but Phyllis dismissed it. They had bigger fish to fry. Plus, being trapped together had given her some perspective. There was no point in clinging to old grudges. They were getting out, no matter what it took. When they talked about what, or rather who, they needed to escape for, their thoughts naturally landed on Nick. They joked about being abducted by the Easter Bunny. They finally located the camera, assuming their tormentors wouldn't be happy about losing their vantage point. That only meant one thing: someone was coming for them. This time, they'd be ready. Unfortunately, things took a turn when the room filled up with gas. Phyllis struggled to keep the leak under the control, but time was quickly running out. Meanwhile, Nick and Billy were on a relentless mission to find them. As they drove, Billy reflected on how long this nightmare had been unfolding for Nick's family. Nick, exhausted and exasperated, couldn't shake the feeling that they were being led right to the women. But why? This entire situation made no sense. When they arrived at the clinic, Chance and his team were already on the scene. Tensions flared when Nick suggested calling in Newman's security, but Chance shut that idea down fast. Rushing in blindly wasn't the answer. This could be a trap, and they needed to play it smart. The landlord soon arrived with keys, revealing that the clinic had been abandoned for years with no inquiries, which raising even more red flags. The keys, however, didn't work. Not willing to wait around, Chance took matters into his own hands and picked the lock, insisting his officers enter first. Time was running out, and everyone knew it. As Billy worried about whether the women would survive long enough for them to get inside, the only thing left to do was move forward and hope they weren't already too late. Rushing to the rescue, the men and their team got into the building and found the locked room. Within minutes, Nick kicked down the door and the men rushed to get them out. Nick held Sharon close while Billy took Phyllis into his arms. In the aftermath, the guys took Phyllis and Sharon to the ranch. Chance was on edge. This was a targeted attack and not a random kidnapping. And the attacker is still out there. Making it worse, the women had no answers. All they knew is they were drugged and woke up in a room together, and were used like lab rats in a psychotic game. They were stunned to learn their attacker led the men straight to them. Why? There were too many questions, not enough answers, and a whole lot of trauma to process. To make things worse, the women realized this was far from over. Over at the club, Tracy was puttering around her room when Alan's phone kept going off. She picked it up off the chair to read the message. Imagine her confusion when she read the words "security breach at clinic. Precautions enacted." Tracy has finally found love again, and fans couldn't be happier for her, at least on the surface. Alan's romantic proposal swept her off her feet, but there's something darker lurking beneath the fairy tale. The young and the restless viewers have been raising their eyebrows ever since Alan entered Tracy's life, and the latest twist only adds fuel to the fire. On the night of the engagement, Alan's phone was blowing up with notifications, and while he brushed them off, which was all fine and good in the moment, but not for long. On the March 14 episode, alone with Alan's phone, Tracy took a peek and read a rather cryptic notification. "Security breach at clinic. Precautions enacted." Tracy might not know what it means, but we do, and it's bad news. With Sharon and Phyllis having just endured a terrifying ordeal at that very clinic, will Tracy start connecting the dots? Or will she remain blissfully unaware until it's too late? One of the biggest fan theories floating around right now is that Alan isn't Alan at all. Is he actually his supposed-to-be dead twin, Martin? The evidence is stacking up. Alan has been acting a little too smooth, a little too secretive, and now a very suspicious message popped up at the worst possible moment. If Alan is really Martin, then Tracy is in for heartbreak, betrayal, and maybe even danger. Could he be using her for something far more sinister? Is he planning to marry her as part of a grander scheme? We love a good doppelganger storyline, and this one has all the makings of a dramatic bombshell. Tracy is known for her big heart, but will she use her brilliant mind to start questioning the man she loves? With Sharon and Phyllis's story making headlines in Genoa City, it's only a matter of time before Tracy starts wondering why her fiancé is getting alarming messages about a shady clinic. Let's just hope she figures it out before walking down the aisle. Lily Brooks O'Brien and her character Lucy have been absent from The Young and the Restless. With her break from the soap opera, the actress decided to concentrate on her other love, music. The star has a special treat for fans with the release of her newest music video. O'Brien has been busy during her recent break from My and R. She recently starred in the Lifetime film, Killing the Competition, which premiered on March 1st. Plus, she's been working on her music career. The star recently released a new single called Fix Me and has a new music video for the song. O'Brien announced earlier this week that the video would premiere on March 13th. The singer has been posting photos and clips from the upcoming video on Instagram. In a sneak peek, O'Brien is seen in work clothes at a construction site. The scene then switches to her in a studio modeling a pink dress, then goes outside to her dancing in front of a graffiti wall. O'Brien is certainly enjoying her time off with her music projects. But when she returns to Y and R, her character Lucy has a few problems that might need fixing. Her mother Heather's murder has been solved, clearing Sharon's name. It'll be interesting to see Lucy's reaction to the news and how she treats Sharon going forward. Chances are she won't be forgiving like her father Daniel. But Grandma Phyllis might have some surprising advice for the teen. The Young and the Restless spoilers tease that love-learned Tracy Abbott is headed for heartbreak when she finds out she's been living with an imposter. Bad twin Martin Laurent has been masquerading as his good twin Alan Laurent and just asked Tracy to marry him. Fans have been wondering for months if indeed Martin survived his fall from a tall building and somehow took over his brother's life. We now have our answer. Martin masquerading as Alan. Way back when Ashley Abbott was the subject of Alan's treatment, he was thought to have fallen from a balcony in France, with Martin breaking the fall and then dying. but looks can be deceiving. Martin passed himself off as Alan before, so some fans thought he could be doing so again. The real question now is, assuming that it is Martin pulling the strings, where and how is Alan? Did Alan survive his fall? The twins could have survived if Martin faked his death and stashed Alan somewhere, like we believe Mean Ian Ward is doing now. Alan got on fans' radar when last summer he came to GC with Tracy and acted like it was his first time at the Abbott mansion. But now a legion of fans are upset that the show has engineered such a devastating scenario for Tracy. We thought the mature woman would finally find peace and happiness, but now we're cringing as we envision her destruction. Is Y and R wrong to break Tracy's heart? There is another wrinkle to this plot. Martin is the one behind Sharon Newman and Phyllis Summers' kidnapping. It is just another one of his twisted mind game experiments. Beth Maitland and Christopher Cousins have great on-screen chemistry, and it would be a shame to lose that since they have a wholesome vibe that clicks with a large portion of the audience. Tell us why, and our fans, what do you think of this drastic plot? And do you want Alan to be alive and somehow rescue Tracy? The Young and the Restless spoilers document that Adam Newman is in a good spot. He is back with one of the loves of his life, Chelsea Lawson, believing that he is her true blue. Adam's head and heart were most recently taken with Sally Spectra. Sharon Newman is also his arguable most passionate connection. But Chelsea is the mother of the first two children Adam had. Riley Newman died before birth, and Connor Newman, Adam's third child, Christian Newman, is rarely seen, and his mother is the late Sage Newman. Children's ties bind forever in Genoa City. Chelsea's first child is Johnny Abbott. She had him with Billy Abbott under strange circumstances. Victor Newman paid Chelsea to trap Billy. She did that in Burma during a period in the plot when Victor was working relentlessly to split Billy from Victoria Newman. But Victor's plan didn't work as Victoria came to embrace Billy's son and adopted him. While Chelsea has become more involved with Johnny recently because he and Connor are cousins, Adam goes along with Nick Newman's wishes and isn't involved with Christian. Victor Newman set the tone. Giving Chelsea his blessing was meaningful. She appreciated their talk earlier this year and felt they were in a good place, like Adam. Longtime fans know that hasn't always been the case. However, Victor told Chelsea that he recognizes she's grown and is a good mother. He no longer believes she threatens Adam's stability and wants her to be part of his son's life again. In this instance, Victor's meddling is proving productive. His offer of the old ranch house to Adam set the tone for the Chatham revival. Whether it plays through to an actual remarriage will soon be seen. Adam Newman is as stable as ever. The OCD diagnosis Connor received proved sobering. Adam and Chelsea were beside themselves when taking their son to see specialists in Baltimore, Maryland last year. But it really wasn't the uncertainty that caused a soapy sea change. It was the resonant love they share for each other. That trip proved momentous because it was the point in the plot where Sally and Billy were pushed off. Adam and Chelsea never intended harm, but their unanticipated romantic reunion was overwhelming. They tried to explain themselves when returning to GC, but Sally and Billy, in that order, broke ties and coupled with each other shortly thereafter. So, remarriage plans are realistic with no links to anyone else and living together as a family in the ranch house. But it's still a long way from here to what would be a third-time wedding, yet that outcome is now a realistic goal. The Young and the Restless spoilers reveal that Claire Newman is getting fed up with Summer Newman making moves on her man. Summer and Kyle Abbott have been divorced for a while now. However, it seems that Summer wants Kyle back and Claire is not standing for it. Claire Newman stakes her claim. Claire and Kyle's relationship is still young. However, Claire knows that she wants to be with Kyle, and she sees Summer trying to come between them. Claire has stood by and allowed Summer to have whatever time she needed with Kyle to discuss Harrison Abbott. Claire draws that line at Summer hijacking her date and inviting her to reschedule and leave. Jack Abbott and Diane Jenkins volunteered to babysit so Kyle and Claire could have a romantic evening since they have been staying at the athletic club while the house is being remodeled. Summer and Kyle have been sharing Harrison every night. Claire has now been deprived of most of her date time, and it won't happen again. Summer Newman wants Kyle Abbott back. Things with Summer and Chance Chancellor hit a huge snag when he arrested her brother for murder. Chance was only doing his job, even though he was completely off base with what happened. Daniel Romalotti was framed by Sharon Newman, and Chance refused to listen when Phyllis Summers told him as much. Summer has now decided that she made a mistake when she sided with Phyllis and ruined her relationship with Kyle. Victor Newman is encouraging Summer to do this so he can prove that Kyle isn't the right man for her. Victor promised to stop interfering, but he lied. Will Summer succeed in coming between Kyle and Claire? Summer Newman is pushing Claire Newman's buttons. Summer is obviously barking up the wrong tree, messing with Claire. Summer may want Kyle back, but she could easily push Claire too far. Claire's crazy Aunt Jordan raised her, and she could come up with some pretty evil ways to teach Summer a lesson. However, Claire doesn't want to end up in jail over her. Claire will confront Summer and tell her to back off. However, Claire doesn't know how Kyle will react. Will Kyle end up breaking things off with Claire because of her threats? Will Summer continue to push until Kyle and Claire break up because he is too involved with Summer after all of this time and not committed to her? Drop your thoughts in the comment section below. Do you agree or disagree? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more updates. Your opinions matter, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you.